Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we're talking about Of Mice and Kings, a Merthyr fanfiction. Because, of course, I found this on Tumblr first, and then someone made a whole fanfiction out of it, out of the idea of it, because the beauty of Tumblr. So, um, what it was is Arthur gets turned into a mouse. He gets turned into a mouse by Morgana. And so his immediate first thought is like, oh no, I have to get back. I have to find a way to be turned back. So his first thought, without even like really thinking about it all that much, his first thought is like, I need to, I need to get to safety, right? To get to a person because obviously he's a mouse now. First person, he even thought of Merlin. He's like, I need to get to Merlin, like quickly. And so he does make his way to the castle, like he eventually does. And he does find Merlin just kind of, going about his chores. And, we have like both their point of views during this entire thing, like, because he's a mouse, so he can't really say anything. And so when Merlin immediately kind of picks him up, he's like, oh, it's like a cute mouse. Like, obviously, Arthur's like, thank God you're like slightly unhinged or something to just pick up a mouse that you just saw. What's wrong with you? And so, he just Merlin just has him, right? He calls him, he's like, oh, I'll call you Mouse. Very creative, Merlin. And he just has him in his little pocket. He's like, do you want to be in my pocket? Like the entire time, he's just in his little shirt pocket. To, and he goes about his chores. And Arthur's like, okay, thank God he picked me up. It's like, okay, now we have to, what's the next step? Who knows? So Merlin goes about like his chores, and he sees, like he's polishing Arthur's. Um, he gets to see a day, basically spending a day with Merlin, seeing what he does in a day. So like polishing his armor. There we go. I don't know why that word escaped me. He's polishing his armor, and he's very protective of it, right? And doesn't really care for much or anything else. But he'll do it like lovingly almost, by and Arthur kind of notices, like, he's like, why is he so like almost like attentive to it? And it's like, to the extent you are supposed to pay attention to what you're doing, but it's like extra what he's doing. And then he sends, going about like cleaning and doing the rest of of everything for him. And Merlin's just kind of throughout this is like going about his day, like talking to the mouse, like he's like a companion basically. And so throughout this, like while he's like cleaning his chambers, he's like, don't tell Arthur this, but like his uncle's a rat, right? Like, no offense to you, but it's like, but he's terrible. It's like he even got, because this is like after the episode where he killed the king, which is like unfortunate. He killed that king. So he's like, he even got him to do it like in cold blood. He's acting like Uther. It's like, my Arthur would never do anything like that. And Arthur's always like, why are you saying this so casually? Like, can't just accuse royal like treason like this. But then he's also like, ignoring the part where he's like, my Arthur. It's like, you know what? Or ignore how that makes me feel. He's like purposely ignoring that part. Then Leon comes in because he's like, so Leon comes in, and that's when he's like asking, he's like, oh, did you like have you seen Arthur? And obviously Merlin hasn't, and Arthur kind of takes this chance to like somewhat try to like get noticed, but he doesn't really know how to at this point. But then, because like, so I mean, he does draw attention to himself, and Merlin's just like, oh yeah, this is like, oh, this is Mouse. Say hi, Mouse. Leon doesn't even blink. He's just like 2 seconds. He's like, okay, like just accepts it so quickly. Like, yep, checks out. Okay, you seen Arthur? He's like, no, he's supposed to do this thing, but like, God, he never showed up. It's like, oh, whoops. And so Arthur And, kind of feels bad. He's like, oh, right. But I'm a mouse, so I don't know how you want me to do that. And so Arthur's thinking, it's like, maybe it's for the best. So I just kind of stick with Merlin for now. Because it's like, Leon, it's like, how do you even go about, like, hey. And it's like, Merlin, just like when he first went to Merlin, like, that's his first thought, the only one who would pick up a mouse. No one else is going to do that. I mean, so, he sticks with Merlin for now, like, a little bit longer. Because like, he really doesn't know what to do. But no one really knows where Arthur is because no one's ever seen him. But they do think like, oh, he's out riding because his horse is gone, right? And that wasn't completely untrue. Like he was out riding before he got turned into a mouse. Before he got turned, so they just think, oh, he's still out riding because his horse hasn't come back. It's gone. So they don't really question it all that much. Like he's just like, yep, he did that. Until Merlin kind of later, but later that's when it's dinner time now. So now it's time to go go get his dinner. And this is when Arthur, for him, like his world kind of falls apart immediately, like almost too casually for him, because before he leaves, Merlin just waves a little spell so the broom starts sweeping, cleaning itself, the room itself, before he leaves to go get dinner. And so Arthur is like devastated. He's like going through the motions as Merlin's like, because they're going down to the kitchen. So as Merlin's like going down to the kitchen to get his food, he's like going through the motions of like, oh my god, he has magic. He's like my trusted friend. He's like his world is like shattered, and it's because it's technically a glimpse for him into life and like what he's doing when he's not like really around. And now it just kind of took a turn. He's like, oh, and he doesn't know what to feel about that because it's suddenly like and he does question because with Arthur, not Arthur, with Merlin using all this magic and everything, he questions why he doesn't use it on some things like polishing his armor or washing his clothes. He's seen him do that. Not once did he ever use magic on it, but he used it to sweep. So he's like, well, he's never learned, but he was perfectly fine use it like taking his time to do those things. Arthur kind of like in a way starts coming around to the idea of Merlin using magic, but only because he thinks he started learning magic basically just like to do his chores. So he's like, okay, fine, household magic. Okay, I could live with that. Like, it's like already like, but also like still thinking like magic, like it can corrupt and So he's like, so what would this do for Merlin? But then he's like, well, maybe it just makes him more stubborn because it's like, okay, sure. And he's doing this because he's like, well, I bet this is why the fire never goes out. My water is always, bath water is always warm. So he's like, okay, maybe. So, couple spells. This is just housework. It'll be fine, And so just since it's like he doesn't seem corrupted by it yet. He's just stubborn, which nothing to do with it, but still. He then because there's like flowers on his little windowsill, and he goes to does a spell to kind of revive them basically. And Merlin talks about the flowers like, oh, how they were his mother's favorite, so by default his, and how he talks about like he's just kind of like Uther in a way, where if he doesn't want to know something, he won't like he won't see it if he really doesn't want to. And Arthur can't really deny that because he's seen the flowers, but in that how they're always kind of fresh and new. But he always just kind of assumed that Merlin was just always out picking them, even though that really doesn't make sense. And because like where and all the time, like even when flowers aren't like in bloom, how is this working? So he's never questioned it further. But now Arthur is late, so Merlin's like, well, we should eat some of his food. Not all of it, obviously, but some of it. So he ends up handing like Arthur a grape. This is when Arthur thinks this is his chance, finally, it's like, hello, I'm right here. And so he ends up biting him whenever he says like his name because he's talking about him. And that's when he's like, It's like, so he starts biting him when he says Arthur. And so that's when he gets like, oh, do you like the name Arthur? Like, are you saying like you're Arthur? And it's like, and so Arthur starts like, so he starts doing all these things like, do you actually, cause he's like, do you actually understand me? And so that's when he's like, oh, like spin around, kiss my finger, and like, you, like raise your paw. And so he does all this, and at the end of it, Merlin's just like, wow, like you're a really smart mouse, essentially. He's like, you're really smart, and Arthur's just like, oh my god, he's like, I'm going to light something on fire. I swear. He's like, okay, so not only are you a sorcerer, you're an idiot. Okay, this is nice. And so he goes back to eating the grape, and he's so upset. He's like, you have got to be kidding me. But at this point though, it's kind of gotten so late, right? So it's way past like, okay, Arthur should have been home by now. Gawain comes in, doesn't even knock. He's just like, oh, where's the missus? So he's like, he's not here. At this point, Merlin's like pacing back and forth. He's nervous and he's like, okay, like I'm sure he's fine. Like, Elaine and Percival come in and they're like, I'm sure he's fine. Like, he can take care of himself. It's like, oh, sure, because you haven't seen him struggle to put on a shirt on. Like, I'm sure. Like, and it's like, Merlin, he's very worried. And Arthur kind of feels bad. He's like, oh, like, his anxiety is so, like, tangible at this point. It's like, Jesus. It's like, he take care of himself. Like, I'm sure he's fine. As when, Elaine kind of brings up, like, oh yeah, Leon told us about your little friend. It's like, why'd you pick up a mouse? He's like, oh, I don't know. It's like, Percival's like, oh, is it one of your funny feelings? He's like, well, sure, but not really. It's like, it just feels like, cause he describes his feelings like I've always known the mouse like he's a friend, because he is, doesn't mean, just because he changed shape doesn't mean that, doesn't, I mean, not that he knows that it's Arthur, but still. So now they're like, going back and forth, like trying to like comfort Merlin, like he's fine, he can take care of himself. While he also kind of freaks out, and they're also worried because it's like something has to be up because he's gone for this long. That's strange. Suddenly Leon kind of he bursts in as the warning bells go off. He's officially declared missing. His horse came back. He's alone. Merlin is now petrified. He's worried. He's like, I told you so. Like, it's not right, right? And Arthur wasted no time jumping on around to like, to he's like, where are you going? And they had to hold him back. It's like, you need to be careful because like, Leon says like, Magdalene was entirely like, he was way too happy, right? He was smiling when he was like, oh, search the woods. Like, I'm sure you like, way too happy about it. And because they're talking about it now, like, what do we do in a situation? And so it's like he was too happy about it. It's like he definitely is like he's definitely alive though, because if he wasn't, Morgana would be here immediately, like wants to stay on the throne. So he's definitely alive. And so then they're like, this is Arthur's first glimpse of like Merlin being in charge essentially, and seeing how everyone kind of follows his orders, no questions asked, and also literally everyone agreeing, he's suspicious. He's definitely like, yep. Like almost like they learned a long time ago, like, yep, listen to Merlin, whatever. He's right all the time. But it's because he's like a servant. You can't really come to be like, he's suspicious, kind of like, well, how dare a servant question, So like, that sucks. But they, at this point, they don't even question it. Because, so, Lance is like, definitely like, he doesn't want to leave him alone. He's already tried to kill him before. No way he's doing it before. And Arthur's like, when did this happen? What? so it's like, I'm never aware of this. So like at this point, Arthur's like, because if all of them are like, they all agree, like, he's suspicious. Like, no, he's definitely the traitor. Then he has, at this point, he has to face facts that like he is the traitor. If Lance, Leon, like all of them, no, he's definitely a traitor. So Merlin immediately starts giving orders like, Leon, you stay behind. You're the highest ranking knight. The court likes you. You now rank Agravines. Like, so there's no way like they're leaving him like in charge. They're not doing that. So turns like Elaine and Percival. It's like, you go search the wood for the other knights. Like, he says, I go check along like these river banks. Like he enjoys riding them the most. Gawain doesn't even be told. He's like, "Yep, stay in the shadows, keep an eye on him. You already got it." It's like, "I'm already doing it." All they need, like, they know their jobs. They knew the assignment. They immediately knew, like, didn't even question it. And so this, like, and Lance, he's like, "You'll stay with me." He's like, "I want to scry. I want to scry for him. To help me out with him." It's like you're right. Like, you got it. And so this is like his first, like, Arthur's like really like how respected like Merlin is among everyone. And for as much like he joked like how like incompetent he was and how much of a doppelhead he was, like he really does think he's a strong person, and like but to see it and how everyone, no questions asked, follows orders and does everything, he like to see it in action is like a completely different thing, because he is like just a servant, even though like they're all friends, technically just a servant. At this point, they're going to scry for him, and Arthur like almost kind of completely forgot about his magic. He's like, "Oh yeah, magic, I forgot about that." He would encourage it, but now he's like, "Yes, he'll find me, and he'll be fine if he's good at it." Because now he's thinking like, "Oh God, I hope he's good at magic and not, if he's as poor at it as he does his chores, I might be screwed." So he's like immediately like, "Oh, please be good at magic." And as they're like getting the ingredients for like the scribe room, they're like a bowl of water, like a drop of ink, salt, and some dried lavender, and also like hair from Arthur's comb that he just has with him. It's his room. He's like, none of this like screamed evil like to him. Like Arthur's like, none of this is evil. Like this is all just like kind of normal things. Although he was like, "Why do you have my comb in your room?" Like I was the only thing he really side eyed of like, "Why do you just have that? What are you doing?" Like the one thing he really did look at, like, what? But when he does scribe for him, it works. Probably he doesn't think it works because like, what is this? But it does work. It's just all they're seeing is fur because he's a mouse. And so Arthur's like, "Oh, okay, I gotta do something." And so he gets into the ink and starts spelling out like, Merlin. I mean, not really. It's MRL, but like that's long name. You're not gonna spell all that out. So he starts spelling it out, like, "Help me, like, curse and all this." And so this is when Mirand's like, "Oh my God, it's like, it's you." It's like, wait a minute. It's like, you've been the entire day. It's like, you've basically listened to me gush about you the entire day. So he's like embarrassed. He's like, and I'm just like, this is literally, Arthur's like, this is literally not the time to be like, to not be embarrassed about this, like literally any other time. Because you're just focused right now. You can be embarrassed later about how you gushed about me. And so he spelled out, magic, and he's like, "Oh, forgot about that part." And he's like, I can explain, but then they're like, it's like, for now, focus on turning him back to normal. And so they're thinking about, well, Merlin's like, "Oh, well, there's like a spell, obviously, because the incident had happened, and Gaius has it. Like, it's like, oh, well, you can make it." It's like, "Well, I don't really have to. It's just Gaius has it. It's a draw." It's like, Gaius just has it. It's whatever. And Arthur's like, "The fuck do you mean he just has it? Why would he just have it?" It's like, Gaius has a lot of things. So he starts, getting the potion ready and making, getting everything ready so Arthur can drink it. Not really sure that, no chance of it working. It'll be fine though. So they do end up getting work. So he's back to normal now. And Arthur's first thing is like, "You have so much explaining to do before I put you in stocks for like a month." And Merlin's me thinking like, okay, this is about his magic. He's like, "I can explain, like, my magic." It's like, he's like, "I don't even care about that." It's like, "I want to know why you let a mouse eat off the king's plate. Like, have you been doing this the entire time when I'm not here? What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, well," he's like, "Okay, I haven't been letting a mouse, he's like, "Please tell me you have not been letting a mouse eat off my plate." It's like, "No, I haven't. She might have been a bird, maybe a cat, a few other animals. If anything, I'm keeping you slim, alright? You don't need." It's like, what are you doing? You're just feeding animals off my plate. But Merlin ends up like, he's like real smug because he's like, "Well, you were a mouse. Like, what does it matter? Like, you were hungry, so whatever." And Merlin ends up being real smug. He's like, "Besides, you sought me out first." And Arthur, can't really deny that because, I mean, he did. Like the person he trusted, like it's the first person he thought of, like, "Who do I go to? Merlin." I just didn't even question it. Not only for a fact of like, he's the only one who would pick him up, just also like, trust the most. And he, of course says it because it's like, duh. And, that's kind of when the truth kind of does finally come out, where they finally settle down from it, where he goes on to say, like, I was born, with magic, and really so was Morgana. And how everything kind of, he doesn't really go into detail because no time for that now, but he does kind of give like an overview of it. Like, it's like, magic, isn't this evil thing? Like, it's not. And Morgana, the way she turned out did, because it's terrifying to think that you are all alone in a kingdom where you will be burned for simply like being born the way you are. And Arthur, he tries, I mean, he kind of knows it. He tries to argue for both, him, just to kind of convince himself almost like, well, his dad, like, Uther probably wouldn't, have killed her. It's like, no, but, she would definitely have been outcasted or anything. Because it's like, that was wild. Because during the whole Witchfinder thing, it only took him accusing Gaius for, like, who he's known since forever. Like, and he's like, kill him. What? Whoa, whoa, what are we doing? Like, so like that's, oh god, I was terrified for weeks afterwards. And that, like, and that is terrifying. Because you're gonna turn a person you've known for forever. What does that say about Morgana? Like, she's your ward, sure, what are you gonna do to her? And so, Arthur can't deny that. It's like, what would he do? Place her in a tower far away, put iron, like, clasp on her? Like, that's terrifying. So he can't imagine how scared she must have been. And how scared he must have been, too. After, everything kind of somewhat comes to light, no time, they do go to confront Agravine, who's already sitting on the throne, please himself, right? A little circlet around his head, Ripley's, and everyone's like, oh my god, King's back. It's like, oh, my dear nephew. He's like, don't bother, I don't care. Like, because I don't even care anymore, right? At this point, I mean, on his way of asking, he's like, do you actually have, like, proof of him being a traitor? Because, like, your funny feelings are really gonna cut it. It's like, and then it kind of brings up the fact that you can ask the stableman, like, he pays them a lot of money to, like, keep quiet, but, like, when he, like, leaves suspiciously late at night. So they do send someone to go get them. And, Arthur reveals, like, it's like, oh, I was saved. Like, oh, yeah, I was. He doesn't reveal the whole mouse incident. That never gets revealed. But, an incident did happen. He was saved by Merlin. And so Merlin by his side. And so he ends up, it's like, you're a traitor, like, and turns out they didn't even need it. Because he just fully revealed himself and was like, you're a spineless coward. Like, you're just like, whatever. It's like, oh, great. So, nice. And so, they end up taking away. Merlin's just comforting. It's like, don't listen. Like, you're a great king. Like, don't listen to him. And so, no one really knows about the mouse incident. And they're just like, yeah, they just know that an incident happened and Merlin saves them. And that's it. And then they end up going back to his chambers, because they're tired, they're over it. And Arthur is, at this point, he's asking, he's like, because he's real tired of lies, and like double meaning of things, and he's over. So he does ask, like, did you really mean it? Because he spent the whole day with him as like a mouse. So, everything that he did when he was talking to Mouse and how he was handling the armor, like, so lovingly, and how he was doing everything, like, truly mean everything, and everything he also said about him, he was practically gushing about him. And Merlin, he doesn't even look at him, he's just staring at, like, the food, and he's just like, yep. Because he can't bring himself to really look at him as he says it. And that's when Arthur, finally says, he's like, I told you earlier, you're the person I went to first as well. You're the person I trust the most with my soul and my whole heart. And he's like, please tell me you understand that meaning. And Merlin's like, he starts crying. So, of course I do. So they end up, confessing. And, Merlin's like, oh, even with my magic. And he's like, I love you because of your magic. Because even with it, when your life was in danger, like, you chose to stay by me and stick with me throughout the entire time. And throughout all, you always chose me. And he's like, I think it's about time that I finally choose, like, I choose you. It's like, oh my god, really? No, but they end up, having our heart, and Merlin's like, no more lying, telling truth from now on, because out in the open now, no wet magic, whatever. And so, uncertain of the future, because there's definitely cause a thing with the court of Agrine being, he's a traitor. But for now, in this moment, he's like, all he has Merlin, and that's one thing he's sure of, and that's he's okay with that. Is that he has Merlin's loyalty and his heart, and so he doesn't doubt that, and so and so he's content to live in the moment. I love this. It started out again. I started out on Tumblr, like a short little thing, and it then turned into this. It's not like a long, like a terribly. There's like what 6 chapters, so it's not like it's a long fic or anything. But it is so adorable. Unless someone made like another one, but this one specifically is 6 chapters. So, and it's so. I love it. It's so cute. And Merlin, or not Merlin, Arthur kind of going, seeing from Merlin, like, a day in the life of Merlin, what he does without him when he's not there, and to see how he really does love and care for Arthur, and even though he had magic, he really could have done all that by hand. He didn't. He handled it with care, and really only did the only thing he only really used magic on was like to sweep the floor and to do like really impersonal things, and to make sure the flowers were still in bloom. Everything else he really didn't care for. But he handled his armor and washed his clothes with care. And it showed how much Merlin really did know about Arthur, because he even said like, "Oh, Arthur will never show it, but he really does like small animals. Like he can read him like an open book, and he really does, And he even showed Arthur like, because when it was revealed magic, he's like, he knows so much about him, but he doesn't really know much about Merlin, because the whole magic thing. He's like, oh my god, how much do I really know about him? But plenty. He's just also an idiot, clearly shown. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!